Hi there. Today we're going to be looking at the Odyssey, and in it the particular traits of a hero according to the ancient Greeks. One of the first traits of a hero is Aidos, which roughly translates to reverence or shame. The Greeks believed that without a sense of shame about oneself, one couldn't show proper reverence to the gods, and therefore one could not be moral. One of the major themes of the Odyssey is the idea of the damage that men without shame will do. Now, at first, this is Odysseus, who fails to heed the warnings of Tiresias, among others, and in his zeal and irreverence disobeys the laws of the gods and is punished severely for it. But more importantly, the example of this lack of aidos, or shame, is in the example of the suitors who are running roughshod over Odysseus's home in defiance of all sense of morality. It is a cautionary tale, in fact, of what men without shame can do if left to their own devices. And a rather grisly ending, because the book seems to distinctly say that men without shame must die in blood. Now, the next trait of a hero is going to be Agon. Now, this is a word with which we are all familiar. It means struggle or competition. And the Greeks saw life, again, through struggle and competition. A life without struggle is meaningless, and anything meaningful should be competed over. Now, the Greeks, of course, this is a zero-sum game. The Greeks cannot understand having a winner unless there is a loser on the other side of it. That's different from today, where we can see that both sides can win in their own way. To the Greeks, that would be alien. That wouldn't be real or a legitimate positive outcome to Agon. The Greeks saw everything through the lens of Agon. Everything is struggle. Everything is competition. This is in the Odyssey, especially, for example, in Book 8, where Odysseus competes with a discus throwing. It's also in the competition of the bow at the climax of the novel. The next trait we look at is Arete. Arete is the Greek word for excellence. It applies to a moral virtue, to have excellence, to, for instance, be better than someone else, to be the most excellent example of something. Particularly bravery is considered an extreme form of arete. This will be exemplified in battle. So most of the examples of arete among the heroes are in some type of battle or heroic endeavor. Perseus slaying the Gorgon shows his arete. Odysseus in the test of the bow again shows his arete. But Odysseus also shows arete when he overcomes the Cyclops to save his men. Now, this quality of being the best or better than the other guy is known as aristos, and these acts of prowess, these displays of arete, are known as aristeia. For example, among the things listed already in the Odyssey, in its predecessor book, the Iliad, the character of Diomedes, who is this great Greek warrior, single-handedly takes on and almost defeats the Trojan army with the aid of Athena. This chapter is often known as the Aristeia of Diomedes. The next trait is Dunamis, and this goes hand in hand with Kalos, strength, and Kalos meaning beauty. To us, this might seem strange that strength, physical strength that is, and physical beauty are somehow indicative of character or morality, but the Greeks nevertheless believed this. Their heroes are beautiful. Their monsters are ugly. Their heroes are strong. They are stronger than anyone else. The test of the bow is an example of this. Also, that Odysseus shows incredible physical strength throughout the book. Metis is the next trait. Now, this is perhaps Odysseus' superpower, if he had one. Metis is the Greek word for cunning. It means wisdom, but in the form of strategy. It is the ability of a Greek hero to get over on his opponents, to outwit them. And certainly among all the Greek heroes, except for Theseus, Odysseus is perhaps the most Metis of all the heroes. This is why Athena loves him so much. Athena is, in fact, the god of Metis, or wisdom, cunning, strategy. And Odysseus demonstrates this time and time again. Now, this is where it's a little different from the modern worldview of wisdom and cunning, because the Greeks would include lying and getting away with it as a positive moral trait and an example of Metis. Odysseus can hardly open his mouth without lying. In fact, in the incident in the book where he lands on the shores of Ithaca finally and is greeted in disguise by Athena, he instantly tells a lie story about how he got there and who he is, right off the top of his head. Now, Athena knows it's Odysseus, but nevertheless, she is absolutely delighted with the fact that Odysseus is outright lying to her. She stops him 3/4 of the way through the story and just tells him, I know you're lying and I love you for it. The next trait is xenia. Now, this is not so much a trait as much as it is the obeyance of ritual behaviors. So it is an action that demonstrates heroic character. Xenia is the Greek word for hospitality, and what it refers to are the various rituals involved with how we would treat a guest in our home, or how the guests ritually treat the host. This is a major theme throughout the Odyssey. For example, the disobedience of Xenia is arguably the cause of all of Odysseus's troubles. And ultimately, he becomes the agent of vengeance for disobedience of Xenia by the suitors, who are eating Odysseus out of house and home in disobedience of all laws of Xenia. The next trait is kleos. Now, this trait means glory and renown. Now, people can become glorified and renowned for many different things. Odysseus for his Metis, Achilles for his Aristeia, Hector for his Aristeia, Diomedes for his Aristeia. But other skills become involved in this glory and renown. For instance, Techn itself, the next trait we will talk about. Techn involves skill, and that means the ability to make and do things skillfully. Odysseus demonstrates this when he can shoot a bow better than anybody else. He can build a raft left with nothing but the resources at hand. In the Trojan War, Odysseus was extremely clever and skillful in coming up with the idea of the Trojan horse. Now, all of these techne help ensure his glory and renown, but it is more than just that. Glory and renown is when your name is carried with you for all time. Achilles is perhaps the best example of the seeking of glory in ancient heroes. He goes to the Trojan War knowing full well that he will die, but also knowing that in doing so he will achieve universal and everlasting kleos, or glory. Now, the final trait to look at is honor. Honor is the source of all justice in the ancient Greek myths. The personal honor one held and the honor for things around one, such as one's family or one's name or reputation. It is also in honoring the gods through proper sacrifice. So honor will get us back to Aidos, but honor is also demonstrated when people uphold justice in the name of reaffirming someone's honor, in the name of restoring family honor or one's own honor. This is seen, of course, when Odysseus takes on and kills all the suitors for what they have done, which is to damage his family's honor by disobeying the laws of Xenia and showing no Aidos. So these are the major heroic traits that the ancient Greeks would look at. And certainly in the Odyssey, there are a number of these traits being demonstrated. So I hope you enjoy the novel looking through the lens of these traits.